Blah, 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 test, test, test. All right, you ready to roll on this bad boy?
Yep, we're all set.
All right, so my name's Keith, and this is my mom, Barb. And we had this podcast called Calling Home, where when I would travel the world, I would call you and just do a podcast about it. Because of COVID, obviously no traveling, so we switched it to this TV podcast where we've been watching old TV shows, mostly from the 40s and 50s, which that reminds me, I looked up, I found a thread somewhere online of TV shows that people like can't watch anymore because that they used to like, but now they just find them annoying. And Gracie Allen was in the list.
She's top on the list, is she?
Yeah, like people mentioned, not top, but like even like Lucille Ball and stuff, like Ricky, all that shit. But yeah, Gracie Allen was definitely in there where people were like she's not just ditzy, she's like dangerously stupid.
She's so awful. I have to wonder what she was like in real life.
Yeah.
Was she like that and just playing herself in that show? Or was she maybe some intelligent woman who played that part? And if she did, boy, she comes across as pretty freaking vapid.
Yeah, it was a little ridiculous. Maybe for next week I'll try to find like an interview or something with her just to see. Because surely to fuck she couldn't have been like that.
God, I hope not. She's a disgrace to womanhood.
But anyway, this week though I thought we'd do something a little different. I mean, it's also the holidays and shit, so let's switch it up. But you remember I mentioned to you that I started a Buffy podcast with my Toronto friends. And that thing has gone off the fucking rails, where there was like a week where everyone was busy, and then there was that week that I was sick, and then the holidays happened, and it just like gets away from you, where it's been like a month we haven't put out an episode. So I'm like, you know what, for a weird holiday switch up stuff, and since we're watching TV anyway, why don't me and you take a break from the 50s and talk about Buffy? And I'll put this on the Buffy podcast, and it'll be the holiday special.
Sure.
Right. So, I mean, it's obviously been a long time since we watched Buffy together, like literally 20 years. So have you seen it since then? Like, has it just been on TV or anything?
No, I have not seen it, not since I viewed it with you.
And I'm trying to remember. So Brad got me into the show at the end of season 2, and then I spent that summer kind of catching up. But by season 3, I think you were watching it with us, right? Like, I should say, wait, before I get into any of that, I got to say, this episode, we're going to spoil the shit out of all of Buffy, the whole thing. So if you haven't seen the whole show, don't listen to this episode. Like my friend Rayanne, who's on the podcast, you can't listen to this episode because she's only seen season 1. So don't listen to this one because we're going to talk about crazy stuff that happens later on. But if you know the show, please listen. So, so by season 3, does that ring bells where there was Faith the Vampire Slayer and the Mayor? Remember
Faith is she's not the little sister.
No, that's although we'll get into that too. Faith was like the dark-haired girl who...
Oh, yes, okay.
Who was like kind of the bad girl, the other Slayer. And the Mayor was like, he was just this really like plucky, like good-natured guy, but he turned out to be evil and turned into a big snake.
I don't remember him. In fact, I don't really remember that dark-haired girl that much, but I do remember her a little bit.
So yeah, I'm just trying to place us in time of like, because I'm trying to figure out when you got in on the show, because so maybe not so much with season 3, but then definitely by season 4 and on, I know we were all like me, you and Brad.
Yeah, and then I went back and they had reruns of the earlier stuff.
Right.
So I watched some of the earlier stuff, but very sporadically. I didn't watch it like week after week and right in chronological order either.
Right. And I definitely remember, toward the end, because I just remember there was that shift where Angel became the better show. Because I remember by the end of Buffy, I was like getting exasperated with it. I'm like, I don't even like this show anymore. But at the same time, Angel was way better. And I don't know, just that balance of the two things. But yeah, I guess just in general, what are your kind of memories of Buffy? Because to me, it was weird. It's like I was always like 50-50 on Buffy in some ways, of like there's some stuff about it I love and there's some stuff about it that I thought was just kind of cheesy and bad. But going back and doing this podcast, I'm like, man, it's actually a pretty good show.
It wasn't bad. When I first started watching it, I found, again, she was like, the dumb blonde, vapid type and everything. But when you consider that she was just a young girl when all that happened to her. And yeah, she wasn't the sharpest tack in the box, but then she wouldn't have been a good Buffy if she was. She has to come across as a little bit naive and unworldly to have any effect. If she'd been just so smart and so worldly, and it wouldn't have fit. So And I kind of got to like her as a character as shows went on. But initially I thought, oh my God, this girl is annoying.
That's one thing I'm noticing going back is I like Buffy a lot more than I used to. Because I used to always think of the show as the ensemble was what made it good. I like Willow, I like Giles, I like Xander. I don't really like Buffy. But yeah, going back, I'm like, Buffy's not that bad because she is, as a character, she's in a tough spot. Yeah, like she's the Slayer. She's the one who's got to go fight these things and get killed all the time and have all these horrible things happen.
And she has to fit that mold of being a little unworldly because, heck, she is just a teenager, too.
Right.
You can't put woman values on the girl. And she's based on the character in the movie,
right?
Who is definitely
way worse.
Wait.
yeah. Like, because I think we were just talking about that like last month or whenever when we did the episode on the podcast. That the movie Buffy is the worst, just terrible. And one thing I thought was funny too is just unprompted. I was just talking to you here about Buffy. You're like saying, "Oh yeah, I started this podcast," and you were like, "I never really liked Buffy's mom." And I just thought that's funny.
Stand Buffy's mom, and when you get introduced to her, if you think Buffy was a little bit vapid and on the, kind of knee side, well, Mom is really out there. Like I don't like that woman at all.
I was thinking that, like, what is it about Buffy's mom that makes her so unlikable? And I think it's just like this combination of she gets in Buffy's way all the time of like, do your homework, don't go out late, blah, blah, blah. But she's also like willfully ignorant of the larger situation. Like she never seems to clue in that there is something else going on. So she's
and never questions it.
Yeah.
Never even wants to go there. No, I don't like that woman. I don't like her. Is she in this episode that we might be watching?
No, because I thought, because I think I asked you a little while ago, I'm like, should this happen? I had this feeling maybe this crossover would happen. Like, if we were to watch an episode, what episode would you want to watch? And you said the musical. So like, we're just going to watch the musical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
And doesn't that kind of feel weirdly Christmassy? Like a Christmas tradition? You could just watch the Buffy musical? It's like the Christmas tree of episodes.
Oh, definitely.
But with Buffy's mom, too, one thing I was thinking that going back and watching it, that is kind of unfair to her character isn't it crazy, though, that they don't tell her about vampires? Like, there's constantly all of this tomfoolery going on where she keeps inviting vampires into the house and stuff, but they never told her that there's vampires. Like, just to protect your own family. I get that, the Slayer is secret duty, you're not supposed to tell anyone, but shouldn't you tell your immediate family, like, hey, by the way, there's vampires?
Yeah, but then she never questions it either.
Right.
She never says, like, hey, like, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
Something really weird. And maybe she wouldn't figure it out for herself, but she never even kind of goes into that area where they could tell her. Yeah. Or feel that they have to bring her into the loop. I think they don't want her in the loop because she's just, she's a loose cannon, that one.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, too, as the show goes on, as I rewatch it. Like, obviously, I think the two most famous episodes of Buffy, arguably, are this musical and the one where Buffy's mom dies. Because they're the two most bizarre, unusual episodes, and they're both really well done. One of them's fun to watch, one of them is no fun to watch. So, I mean, ultimately, Buffy's mom has this sad fate, and it's this really good episode. But all the way up to there, I'm like, I think the only little glimmer I can think of where I'm like, oh yeah, I liked that one, was the one where Buffy's mom and Giles revert to being their teenage selves. Did you ever see that one?
I don't think so.
Oh man, it's real good because, Buffy's mom really was a ditz. She just goes back to being, she's like Buffy from the movie. She's just a total dumbass. Meanwhile, Giles reverts back to like, oh, I'm a tough London guy. I'm a fucking tough, cool punk. And they start making out and stuff. And Buffy's like, what the fuck is happening? It's a really good episode.
The other thing, though, they probably want to show Mom as not being too with it. Because after all, that show was made to appeal to the teenage crowd. And you don't want to show that your parents have any knowledge or are perhaps have some intelligence, except for Giles. Everybody else is kind of like just stupid adults who know nothing.
Yeah.
And you got to kind of play that card all the way through. You can't suddenly have adults coming out of the woodwork who are really with it. Because, hey, that's not cool.
Well, that's one thing I think, too, if you were going to try to pinpoint the overall theme of Buffy, I think it was just that, you can build a family around yourself. And usually Slayers are solo acts, and they just are, them and their watcher, and they all get killed. And the fact that Buffy had friends and family is why she was better. And specifically, Giles is like becomes her surrogate dad. But it's weird because she does have a dad. He's just never there. And she has a mom, just terrible, terrible, ineffectual
Who's there,
mom.
but not there.
Yeah. So it is just kind of weird that that's a big theme of the show, but not real parents. And I wonder, I mean, who knows? I don't want to psychoanalyze people too much, but I heard that Joss had a pretty good relationship with his own mom, but a bad relationship with his dad. And it's like maybe he's just working out this parent stuff, in the show. Who knows? Anyway, I just thought, it might be
And
interesting.
see, and I'm looking at the mother from the standpoint of a mother.
Right.
If I had watched that show as a teenager, I would have completely believed that mother could be so ditzy and just not with it and all that stuff. But from a grown woman mother standpoint, when I watch her, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that woman is really like that. But in a teen mind, yes, of course she was like that. She would never be with it.
Maybe it's like in Shawshank, how the guards are so cruel and so mean, but then you realize it's because we're seeing this through Red's memories. That's how he remembered the guards. It's not really how they were. Maybe that's what's going on in Buffy. It's like this is just Buffy's view of her mom. Maybe her mom deserves more credit, but in Buffy's view of things, she's just an annoying mom who gets in the way.
Just annoying in my way, dumb adult.
That is an interesting thing about like Gilmore Girls, where it's one of the few shows I can think of where the mom and the daughter are kind of on equal footing. But I also kind of find that kind of weird because that mom also doesn't feel like a mom. It's like trying to be the cool mom. Like, I'm not your mom, I'm your friend, I'm your sister. It's like, yeah, well, maybe you should be my mom.
Yeah. And in that case, it's almost a reversal of roles in that the
Right.
daughter comes across as being very intelligent, mature, whereas the mother is very, just like a teenager.
Yeah. So anyway, so let's watch this musical. But I thought before we did, I would just set the scene again, because again, it's been 20 years. So I thought I would describe the setup of what's happening in this episode, how we got to this point. So yeah, if you recall, in season 5, that's when Buffy's sister Dawn showed up, and Dawn was a key to a demon dimension. And they didn't want this dimension to open up and destroy the world, so they needed to protect the key. So the best way to protect the key is to make it into the Slayer's sister, and then the Slayer will protect the key. And they eventually unravel that Dawn was not really ever there and is not a real person, existential crisis. And at the end of the season, the gates have opened, it's too late, they gotta sacrifice Dawn to close them, but then Buffy realizes through some mystical weirdness because of the key being her sister that they have the same blood and that either one of them can die. I'm getting like choked up about it. It's like my favorite thing ever when Buffy kills herself to close the thing. That's embarrassing. But it really is. I love that moment so much, and it's like that's where the show could have stopped. It could have stopped there. It would have been perfect. But then the show got renewed on UPN, on a new network. And they're like, oh, no, got to make more Buffy. Bring Buffy back to life. I know it was perfect. It was the most perfect ending you could ever want. But we got to make more. So that's when they got into all that weird stuff with the Buffy bot. And they eventually bring Buffy back to life. But the big thing, the big, dramatic reveal, they thought they were doing a good thing by bringing Buffy back to life. But she was in heaven. And they took her out. And it's like, you assholes, So Buffy's in this existential crisis of like, I can't tell them this, but my life sucks now. This is horrible. I don't want to be back. And then this conveniently...
Yes, I remember those. Yeah.
And then conveniently this dancing, singing demon shows up in town. And that's what's so great about this. It's not just a musical for the sake of it. It serves a plot point, is that when you're singing and dancing, you're compelled to sing the truth. You have to tell the truth in your song. So here we are. That's what happens in this episode. So, and this is one of those things too, where, we'll talk about it more after we watch it, but for whatever debates there are about season 6 and 7, like I like season 6 a lot more than most people, but this is when people started being like, I don't know if we really needed this. And season 7 especially is like, man, the show just needs to stop right now. But it was all worth it for this episode.
Yeah.
Like, even if just for this, I'm glad that the show kept going.
This is so well done, the singing and the dancing, that I at first figured it was all fake, that they had fake singers in the background. somehow they had faked the dancing, but it isn't. It's actually these people doing their own singing, their own dancing, and they do a pretty spectacular job.
Yeah, there's actually, I just watched the other day with this, when I was grabbing this episode, I found a behind the scenes, like 20-minute thing, just behind the scenes stuff. And yeah, it was interesting just because Giles and Willow's girlfriend, what was her name? Tara. Man, they kill it. They're so good at singing. And it's just like, man, yeah, they're amazing. So anyway, yeah, let's watch this bad boy.
Let's go for it.
We're getting married. Congratulations. Well, you are using too much magic. Can we not do this now? Forget it ever happened. Forget.
Willow, that's right. Willow's getting into like dark magic and shit. So there we go. The Buffy musical. So did that bring back a bunch of Buffy memories?
Oh, yes, I remembered all those songs, and I think I only watched that. I think I might have watched that twice.
Right.
It definitely holds up.
Yeah, I used to. I remember all them all really well because I had it on a CD and I would just play it because I worked at a comic shop, so I could get away with just
Very
playing
good music.
playing the Buffy musical.
Considering that, Josh Whedon and his wife pulled that off and wrote all those songs, like, it's very listenable and definitely holds up.
Yeah. What do you think? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because there's a bunch of good songs, but I think my favorite song is just that little one, but it's the Tara and Giles doing their little duet.
Oh, yes, the duet where they,
And I think it's just because, I mean, they're the real singers, you know? I just really like that song. But I mean, there's a bunch of good songs.
Oh, I don't know. I like the devil at the end, though. I think he's very good.
He's awesome, right? He's like such a good villain because, like, he kicked their ass. They didn't even come close to stopping him. The only reason that they solved the problem was because he decided to leave. I mean, there's a bit of an insinuation that maybe Willow could have fought him. And by the end of the season, Willow turns into evil Willow and it's a whole thing. But at this point, I don't think so. I think he had that whole town locked down and just did whatever he wanted. And yeah, I love that guy because he's so... Like, they've got a long history of happy villains, you know, the Happy Mayor, the Glory from season 5. She was like the ditzy girl who's also a god. But that dude's the best. He's like the best bad guy ever.
No, I very good. I'd watch that again.
But yeah, it's, I guess one thing about that episode, I mean, obviously the big thing about it is this is the start of the Buffy-Spike relationship, which I don't remember super well. It'll be interesting to watch those again, too. Because it was all, you know, Buffy feels bad about herself, so she's going with the bad boy. You know, it was like this weird, the bad relationship or whatever, the bad boyfriend, where I guess her and Angel was more of the pure, the real romance. But one thing I've noticed in the past, like, 20 years, like, there's all these, like, Instagram accounts and stuff about Buffy, and everybody loves Buffy and Spike. No one gives a shit about Buffy and Angel. Like, that's not the enduring relationship that anyone cares about anymore.
Well, she also is at a point that she's seen the other side. She's seen the heaven.
Right.
And probably feels she can never get back to that. So
fuck it.
and Spike is not quite as evil. He's got feelings. He's not the evil little twerp that he was when he first started this thing.
Yeah, the thing that I've found interesting as the show goes on about Spike versus Angel is Angel is like a compass. He's either good or he's evil, and he has no ability to be in between. You know, when he's a good guy, he can't imagine being bad. When he's a bad guy, he can't imagine being good. Where Spike is more interesting, I think, because he always skirts the line back and forth of just like even before he got his soul back, he was still just more in the gray area. And then when he got his soul back, it wasn't like when Angel gets his soul back and everything turns upside down. He didn't change that much, and I kind of like that about him. Like, he's more in control of himself, where Angel is just the way the winds are blowing, that's how Angel's gonna be, type of thing.
I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, so. Who knows, right? Yeah, fuck it. I mean, this is getting way too deep into the nerdy-ass Buffy shit.
Anyway, if you want to watch a musical with good music, very listenable, good explanation as to why it is that way, hey, there's your show.
Yeah, I wonder if someone just jumped right into that. I wonder if it would make any sense at all. I mean, it does, because it does kind of, lean
The
a lot on...
story itself wouldn't, but
Right.
the music wouldn't. It wouldn't matter. The music is very good, very good. The dancing is good.
It's just funny.
Okay, well, there's some Chinese food here, so let's sign off.
Yeah, we don't need to belabor the point. Just fun to watch again. Good old Buffy the
Yep.
Musical.
Definitely holds up after all those years.
Nice. I was thinking, like, it's been like half an hour, 40 minutes. We don't know if we stopped, we had some food or whatever. I think an interesting way to gauge a musical is what song is stuck in your head half an hour later. And the one that for me that just keeps running through my head is, will I get so old and wrinkly that I look like David Brinkley?
Mine is Walk Through the Fire.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
That's the one that's in my head right now, my earwig or whatever they call it.
Am I crazy? Am I dreaming? Am I marrying a demon? Yeah, that's right. Yours is a lot more dramatic and serious.
Yeah, no, mine's powerful. The thing that I found was amazing, though, too, is they just didn't do songs, as I told you while we were watching. They just didn't do songs for the stars. They had all this background stuff going on, like the woman trying to talk the ticket out of the cop because she had parked in front of a hydrant. The window cleaners, or the street cleaners, I guess they're street cleaners, the
Doing
three
a
of them,
little dance, yeah.
dancing with their brooms and really putting on a show while the stars were just walking by having conversation.
I like to, during Spike's musical number, those guys at the funeral must have been like, I knew we shouldn't have done an 11 p.m. funeral. Like, why are we here in the middle of the night? I don't know.